Hello there, come well from me. Close to 1 year with Tears, and some new stuff has recently surfaced. And no, I'm not talking about the best Zelda action figure to date from Figma, as it will first be in our hands in 2025, but rather new discovery, info and projects shared by multiple parties since March. So be sure to leave a like, subscribe and press that notification bell. First and foremost, an actual unused location in Tears of the Kingdom was discovered by Gaming Reinvented founder Cheatmaster30. Interesting name. But either way, this place, or more specifically cave, is in the game, but unreachable unless glitched into it. Not only that, this point of interest close to Samasa Plain was explorable in Breath of the Wild, but for some reason is walled in the sequel. Reddit speculates that it might have been intended for a Korok puzzle or a chest that later was dropped during development. Either way, Cheatmaster30 has decided to look for more such explorable in Breath of the Wild and not in Tears examples, so we look forward to his next findings. Meanwhile, Nintendo's expanding its line of Tears of the Kingdom merch, including the key main quest objective that Link never holds personally, but hears about more than enough in Tears' most notorious cutscene.
Secret Stone? Secret Stone?
All 8 Zonai Stones, though there's a catch to these, and the new Aloha, Hawaiian shirt, stickers, keychains, earrings, hair tie, bombflower training bag, and more. They're only available for shipping to Japanese addresses and for purchase in Nintendo stores in Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto. And speaking of the home of Zelda in Kyoto, since we don't know too much about the background of the game, seeing that no Tears of the Kingdom equivalent to Breath of the Wild's Creating a Champion or Masterworks has been announced. Yes, the art book and pre-launch interviews gave us some details, like at some point the game having more Sky Islands. Still, a lot of hopes were tied to the first Zelda GDC presentation since 2017, and here focused on the physics and sounds combo that was brought to a whole other layer with this game of layers, as introduced in English by technical director Takuhiro Dota. In truth, all was made possible by putting the impossible into a long list of systems. Most of all, Ultra Hand, which was turned from a development nightmare to the ultimate sandbox tool in Zelda, and some might say, gaming to date. So let me use a few selected clips from said lecture by physics programmer
Since our goal was to create a system where unique interactions occur without dedicated implementation, we included many different components that can trigger these interactions. It looks like the Koroks are happy about it too. I've shared the 2 concepts crucial in our efforts to create a world that expands through enhanced multiplicative gameplay. There's one more vital piece of the puzzle missing. That piece is working together as a team. Even the wheel, as a component to trigger unique interactions, is a result of the collaboration between game design, artistic perspective, and physics. I vividly remember the team's excitement about how good the driving felt once the suspension was attached. The artist in charge designed a wheel with built-in suspension, which she mentioned was quite challenging given it's not something you really see out in the real world. But in the end, we decided to put a joint at the bottom of the pot for stability. I'm happy to say your soup is now safe. And furthermore, we were so happy to see that the joint on the portable pot has seen a whole range of other uses, thanks to the creative imagination of so many players.
For some reason, this has been barely covered or made videos about, since these are massive accomplishments that the Zelda team pulled off. And what is more, the only recorded presentation on the making of this game with given examples by the development team. From what we saw at GDC 2024, there's no doubt that the Zelda team more than deserved the Technical Achievement Award they received from BAFTA Game Awards just a few weeks later. This is definitely one of the areas where Tears of the Kingdom scored 100 out of 100 in my book. Next level gaming, and something we're certain to see mimicked of in a number of different copycat titles in the rest of this decade. As a seamless world with cooking, climbing, gliding, and arrow time was just peanuts compared to this. Now we have the real pizza, math, and systems to make it just work, and result in awards and recognition. For some strange reason though, not musical awards. But to be real, sound design should be a category of its own. Why? Since the organic implementation and phasing in so many sections of this game was just glorious, and far above what was the case in Breath of the Wild. As explained by sound director Junior Sada, there was a lot of focus on systems, recreating real-life sound, and especially emphasis on distance, the impact of barriers, and the paths that sounds take when something gets in the way or moves in different directions. In many ways, using the same systems applied to the physics engine and the new tools like Ultrahand. And with it, they were able to find application in the sound design, utilizing it for recreating distant sounds, paths, and so on from our real world. An achievement Nintendo is more than aware of and using in the recruitment of new talent for the next generation. And thanks to this, we got an official post, or if you prefer, mini interview with one of Tears of the Kingdom's composers, namely Masato Hashi, who was responsible for some of the most memorable pieces in the game. Luckily, Nintendo Everything did a solid job translating the interview from the original Japanese. Quote, "For this game's development, the compositions and arrangement I was in charge of were the dungeon interior music, character themes, cutscene music, and more. But the most rewarding was the music that played on the journey to the large floating ship in the swirling cumulonimbus clouds. Although the piece was light, it was a new piece that I made, so it gave me a sense of accomplishment. We decided to divide the area into steps. At the lowest altitude was the place of departure at the snowy mountains. In the middle were groups of blocky ruins, and at the highest altitude were the boats floating in the air, followed by a final scene of diving into the clouds. We wanted to make music that rose in tension as the player ascended. There's a scene that takes place at the end of the very long journey, when you reach the peak in the last ship, sailing in the sky, flying in cumulonimbus clouds, and then skydive into it. I felt this was a very dramatic scene and wanted to make a piece of music suitable for the climax. And from there, I then worked backwards down the journey to make the others. First, we started with just a few instruments, and gradually increased the number as the altitude increased. We wanted to reflect the change as the player got closer to the hidden goal of their journey in the clouds, as they climbed higher and higher, and the cold became more severe. Then, when you reach the ship and jump down into the clouds, the blizzard stops, and a blue sky stretches out before you, and we decided to have the scene without music, to give a truly lasting impression of a sunny spectacle." End quote. Since we're on the topic of Nintendo's recruitment and financials, let's quickly bring up Nintendo Forecast's calculation of Breath of the Wild's and Tears of the Kingdom's total costs. NF concludes that the total cost of Breath of the Wild was $130 million, and for Tears of the Kingdom, $185 million. For a detailed breakdown of the actual development and marketing costs, go and check out Nintendo's Forecast in-depth video after this one. On the 2024 merchandise front, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom has teamed up with Uniqlo for a collection which is luckily not exclusive to just Japan. Though I definitely want to hear your take on this clothing line in the comments. Last but not least, let's go over what the fanbase is working on, namely the new cinematic free camera tool which is already out to make even better Tears of the Kingdom videos, but also entirely new scenarios, one of which I've been glad to advise and also give pinpoints to, since Troll Squad 57 has together with his team been working on what I consider to be the most ambitious project since the release of the game on May 12, 2023, the alternate history Tears of the Kingdom with a simple rule swap. You play as Princess Zelda, not in the distant past as we only got limited fragments of how that Hyrule looked from cutscenes, and yes, that was a real missed opportunity from the Zelda team, but one that might be addressed by the Zelda team in the future. Who knows, there's always the successor system with potentially another version of Tears of the Kingdom. Until then, Troll Squad will soon have us covered as Link ends up in the distant past while Zelda on Great Sky Island with what has been teased on his channel through 3 trailers up to this point. Truth is that when Nintendo is so dry when it comes to reveals of any games of their franchises, then it is the responsibility of the community to get something on the table in the first half of 2024. Jokes aside, this project is doing just that, and deserves far more attention for the hard work that is being put in. Meanwhile, we know that Nintendo has their own plans for Zelda in 2024, even before the reveal of the successor to the Nintendo Switch. In this case, I think we can hope for one Zelda reveal, most likely in a Nintendo Direct, whenever we get the first one with actual Nintendo game reveals. Though sadly, nothing more regarding Tears of the Kingdom outside sales number updates. No DLC, no new amiibo, as it appears that the Zelda team has moved past Tears of the Kingdom and are eager to deliver a new game, not too long into the new system. The only exception from this rule being potential Hyrule Warriors imprisoning war, but that might also be on the next system. Either way, if you haven't already, then be sure to leave a like, subscribe and press the notification bell to make this video more visible. Last but not least, a big thanks to all our patreon.com/commonrealm patrons and to you for watching. Special shoutouts go to row producers Zach Johnson and JC Funk, and heroes Holly Wolf, Cheryl, and Garrett Hoy. You rock, and please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.